Hello, welcome, friends and colleagues. Welcome. Wow, y'all, it's been a minute since we've been together for this series, but I'm excited today to bring on a dear friend and one of our newest partners to bring us back into these episodes. Before I bring on her Shine to the stage, I want to take a quick bit to just reground us in what this series' purpose is. The Power of Intentional Partnerships is a mini series I created to showcase our talented partners while supporting you all as a community to share information about building partnerships in an intentional way with your own network or in your own business. Or if you work in a traditional role, how to build strong collaborations within teams and organizations. Now, that latter part is the extended version after we got some attendees in some earlier days who shared interest in wanting to learn more about cross collaboration in their own organizations. And we appreciated being able to incorporate that feedback to enhance the series. Something that's come to mind to me just now, actually, and I want to get it out here before my Perry brain loses it, is that this is also an opportunity to explore how to have the right partners at the table in the first place. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader in a large or small organization, and it's an opportunity to understand the power of not only having the right partners, but how to ensure you bring the right ones around the table. People shouldn't have to beg to be at tables they belong at in the first place. So let that simmer for a minute. I love when a good thing unfolds organically. And that is how this mini series spun up in the first place after a conversation with a long-term partner, Gil Cohen, who kicked off this mini series with us. In these episodes, we bring you CEPHR friends, guests, and partners, and you get the opportunity to learn about them, their amazing work, and the work that we do together. You'll hear tips for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, gain some tools and wisdom, and hopefully pick up some best practices on partnering with others, no matter what form that may take. We're so glad you've joined us today to listen in on Team Live or Team Replay. We love how many of you have sounded in to even let us know you have a conflict or that you'll be away. Yes to taking time away. Y'all know how much I love that. And I also love that you will join us on Team Replay. We love our community. We encourage your thoughts, hellos, and questions in the comments, whether you're on Team Live or Team Replay. And today we're streaming live to LinkedIn and YouTube on a new platform. We're on Restream now. Lots of testing was happening. And my guest today was really graceful, I guess, in that process. And so candidly, this is because, not to throw them under the bus, but StreamYard doubled their costs unexpectedly overnight. And so we pivoted, something entrepreneurs do best. So here's hoping we don't have any tech glitches today, but we're going to weather any storms that come our way. You can watch our past episodes on this series on our YouTube channel, and the link that I'm going to refresh, it's already in the comments, but I added it this morning. We're going to refresh it to the top after this live because I'm sure you're all going to have lots of amazing comments come through. All right, let's officially get this party started. And let me tell you about today's guest. Her name is Gehan Haridy-Ardanowski, founder and creative chief consultant at Golden Synergy Touch, LLC. If you know G, you know she's full of energy and shine and maybe a bit of shenanigans and sizzle too, as we laughed about yesterday from her post about joining us on the series. G uses that shine to support this very LinkedIn community as a LinkedIn guru, also uses her HR background and savvy to support organizations as a fractional HR consultant, to support them with working through UMAP consultations, and to empower them through Clifton Strength Strategy. She's also an author, which she'll tell you more about, and I better get us moving along and bring her on, because if this episode will be anything like our voice notes and our wonderful evolving conversations, we might be here a while. So I don't want to take up any more precious time from her shine. Gee, could you please come to the stage and introduce yourself? Yay, Restream. We are finding G. There's G. Sorry, y'all. Testing right in action. I see her. I just need to push the button. There she is. Yay! We did it. G.
Oh my goodness.
I was afraid I lost you. The comments, thank you everyone in the comments, but I'm like, she was right here before. Where did she go? Welcome.
Tiffany, I don't even have words. Well,
Yeah.
first of while you recover, let me first say thank you for your very gracious, when you said graceful, I thought, oh my goodness, anything but here, but
This is why I
the
love
laughter begins. And honest to God, that's what
Right
we're all
here.
about, Tiffany. I am so
Yes.
grateful to you for the introduction. And oh my goodness, you actually pronounced my name correctly. And
Yes, our names are important, right? And
yes,
that's pretty
thank
bad if I
you.
don't know how to pronounce it over all these years. That would be bad. Thank you,
You'd be surprised.
Leslie.
It just, and you know what? That's why I go by G. So, Tiffany, thank you for having me today. It is so amazing to be here. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you, and I'm laughing already. So, thank you again for that very gracious introduction. I don't even have words.
Oh my gosh. I just, I try to do my best for you. Only the best. So, only the best for all of our guests. But thank you. I see Sue Griffey made it. After all, I noticed that, Sue. I saw your name in the comments and I remembered that you were going to be Team Replay. We have some folks introducing themselves in the comment. Yes, speaking of community, G and I are both, we love communication, we love community, and we are doing this too for community. Barney's here. Thank you so much. Thank you for just interacting. This is a power of LinkedIn, and which I know G is loving this because she loves her. Jason's here. We love having the opportunity to have you all connect too. This is jazzing me up. Keep them coming. If you have any questions, thoughts, share them. G, tell us about the magic of what you do. All things, all the
Oh my
things.
goodness. Oh, well, first of all, again, thank you for having me. And yes, I'm the founder and creative consultant for Golden Synergy Touch. And the abbreviated version is I have a twofold approach to the sometimes dreaded, if you will, HR profession, in that I am a fractional HR consultant working with small to mid-sized companies. But I'm also a personal branding strategist in that I align LinkedIn with Clifton Strengths and UMAP. To amplify value and visibility for career victory. And I absolutely love working and collaborating with people like yourself, honestly, Tiffany. That's it, you nailed it too, like with community and collaborations and just, seeing these names popping up already. I'm so grateful to be here for you and the people who are supporting us. So thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell us a bit more about UMAP? Because I think I shared with you the other day when we were talking and prepping and pom-poms. Thank you for your pom-poms in the comments about UMAP. You're the first person I ever heard about that from. So tell the fine people what UMAP brings to their organization, what it grows, how it grows them personally. Just tell us all the things so we can be educated.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So UMAP is, call it an expansion of Clifton Strengths in a way. So I will, a little bit of backstory. Many years ago, I actually discovered Clifton Strengths, then Strengths Finder, in July of 2013 when I lost my job. And the very day that I lost my job was the very day that an hour later, went to a networking event, sat down, and I was with a bunch of people, all who had the Strengths Finder 2.0 book in front of them. I had no idea what this was at the time. So never heard of Strengths Finder. This was years before UMAP even came into existence. But if you're familiar with Gallup and Clifton Strengths, then Strengths Finder, it's basically your 34 talent themes, and it's a performance-based assessment versus a personality-based, if you will. So at the time I took the assessment and it literally changed my life. I figured out exactly where my strengths were and weren't, and used it for years afterward. So fast forward to about 2020, when I came across a product called UMAP, and I thought, what is this UMAP? And I actually learned about it through where else? LinkedIn, and started networking with people and learned more about the UMAP process developed by Kristen Sherry. So shout out to Kristen Sherry out there. And UMAP actually takes your Clifton Strengths and blows it up, if you will, and connects the dots with your skills, values, and personality to really give you more of a complete package, if you will. So strengths will tell you, hey, these are what you're strong at, but it doesn't really get into what to do with those results from there. And so instead of it becoming shelf help, you have an opportunity to really discover where your strengths lie. And it is so important to use in all things, really starting with that foundation, because you can't really build anything if you don't know yourself first. And that's part of why it ties into LinkedIn with LinkedIn profiles, and why I encourage people first discovering themselves and then building from there. So it's a lot of information, but yes,
yeah, good information.
It's a lot of information. And I'm actually working on something as we speak to give a visual of this, because it sounds clear as mud, but when you really think about it, what we're good at is so important that we lean into and lead with in our daily lives. And unfortunately, sometimes we're misaligned with our, roles that we're in or the companies that we're at. So values, which I know is a very important topic between you and I, the values come out from that UMAP too. They're pulled
Yeah.
out. And you get an opportunity to really do a deeper dive into where those align within maybe the company that you're currently working at, or where you hope to go from there in the future. And these are really important because at the end of the day, you want to wake up in the morning and be at least somewhat energized with what you do and where you go and with whom you do it for, correct? So
Here's hoping. I know that you and I have both, and I know many of these wonderful folks. I am loving these comments. The LinkedIn community, LinkedIn, when it does what it's supposed to do, is just look at this beautiful community being built and folks who know each other, who are getting to know each other. And I know we both care about LinkedIn because we care about people, right? It's our profession. It is what is at the heart of everything we do. And when you talked about this mix of Clifton Strengths and the personality and how you can show up, it really, like, that is such a powerful combination, because what people don't realize often, and leaders, I'm looking at you, is that we have to understand ourselves first. We have to understand and be self-aware and emotionally intelligent before we can lead others. And that sometimes is the missing piece. Ooh, I would love to hear how you've used this with leaders. Because I see you lighting up over here. I'll hand over the mic.
Oh, well, in fact, I'm working with one of my clients right now. We're working through this process. And kid you not, it's a smaller team. And shout out to Tempest, by the way. So, Tempest people, Remy, Beja, if you're out there.
To Remy and T.
Actually, it's a wonderful team. So, I'm working with a smaller team, and we're actually working through UMAP. And prior to this, people weren't really familiar with even Clifton Strengths. So for the most part, people have heard of Clifton Strengths before, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Tiffany. We take the assessments, the DISCs and the MBTIs and the Enneagrams, and I don't even know all the other ones out there. I'm not a big assessment person, but I will tell you the difference between those and Clifton Strengths is this is really, it's performance driven, and a lot of companies use it for that reason. And it's very indicative of whether or not someone's going to be successful in a role. So when you pair that with the remaining pieces, after discovering what those strengths are, and you lean into, how your skills show up, where your burnout skills are, where your, how your personality aligns. Maybe you should be in more of a front-facing role, client-facing role than the behind the scenes. It's how all of those pieces fit amongst the team behind the scenes. So that's really what we're focusing on. And it works. And Clifton Strengths is a standalone too. It's the one thing that I encourage, if nothing else outside of today. And you know where to find me, folks. Hello. You have
Right
questions
here,
from
LinkedIn.
here. But if nothing else, I will just, the immediate quick fix is go to Gallup, cliftonstrengths.com, $25 assessment. The challenge with that, though, is when people take the assessment, they get the reporting. And this happened actually with a separate client recently who reached out after the fact and said, I received all this reporting from Gallup. I don't know what to do with it. That's where the deeper work comes into it. And it's a phenomenal process that works for teams, individuals, job seekers. If you're looking just to make changes in your life, just to know yourself better. And again, like I said, Clifton Strengths 12 years ago was a game changer for me when I discovered it. And then when I discovered UMAP in 2020, 2021 timeframe, it like the skies parted, if you will. So yes, I can talk about that even further, but yes. So
I love
thank
it.
you for allowing me the opportunity to clarify that. So it's called
Yeah.
UMAP. So myumap.com, but otherwise just ping me for information. If you're just curious to, I can talk about this stuff all day long.
I love it. I love it. Oh, Nancy. Yep. This sounds great. Always looking to level up. We all should be, right? Like we all should be. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to tease some of this out a little bit more. I want people to understand this. And especially as leaderships and teams. And we are in an interesting time right now where I'm just seeing shifts in organization and in teams. And it's such a great tool. I love a good tool that's helping to support organizations, and there's an unlocking that happens in organizations when we focus on culture. And what you just shared also is the full strategic spectrum, really, of everything, and it is showing how it works across the organization and what it brings. I love Clifton Strengths as well. I know you and I talk about it all the time, but it's really, how do you use this as a team? And even in the spirit of this mini series, we're talking about partnerships and that cross collaboration that can happen in an organization. So this can help illuminate how you can, because it is strengths focused, what you can bring across the organization, what you can bring to your team, and that becomes the strength of an organization. And this is what I jam out on when we look at culture. It's not this fuzzy little word, and culture changes, right?
And 1,000% to all of that. And the key part of this too, to extend upon this UMAP piece and why it relates to what organizations do. Take LinkedIn, for example. And I got really passionate about this a few years ago when I was asked the question about, hey, am I required to be on LinkedIn? How does that look? Person just asking me, a colleague in front of mine asked the question. And it something clicked for me in that moment, because the challenge that a lot of people have, and I see this a lot, I've seen it many times over the years, is that people say, or leaders say to their teams, go to LinkedIn, like a post, put your, just do something without really having a strategy behind it. But it's not really bringing people together. And it's not really giving opportunity to people who want to establish a personal brand. They don't know how to do it. They don't know what they should and shouldn't share. And that communication and that stifling, it's not pleasant to work with. And so I'll never forget my colleague and friend who asked me that question. Of course, I bounced it back at the time and we had some dialogue about it. But that's what really sparked this for me, because it occurred to me that, yes, all of these pieces as standalones are great, but how do we piece it together? And that's why things like tying the, Clifton Strengths and the branding part of that into the UMAP, into an organization, kind of flows. So it's all about putting people in the right seats on the bus, so to speak. And I know we hear that terminology all the time, but there's nothing worse than people showing up and not knowing why they're there, or what the next is for them. So
Yeah,
this is
thank you
a
for
little bit of it's really empowering. If I can use a word, and I know it gets overused sometimes, but empowering when you can show up with that authenticity. Another word that we use, right?
Yes. I love it. I love it. And it is, I frankly feel like it's maybe underutilized, and maybe people don't realize the power that's in that when we look at markers like engagement and retention. And of course, those have now become their own little buzzwords, but they really, that's why it's effort we talk about that. Those are the pillars that we're looking at, because that is what we're going for. We don't want people who are just there, who aren't really bought into the mission, vision, and values of the organization, who don't connect to the purpose and meaning as you're describing, G, who don't want to be there, who aren't, supporting your customers and bringing that shine to your customers. And of course, then they're not going to stay. And that's not, that is why we like to talk about it under those points. So it's so important. And it brings back to one of, I know, our shared values of communication, which, whether it's a partnership or anything in life, right? It doesn't extend just to the workplace. Everything is anchored around communication. And you and I joke a lot. G and I exchange a lot of voice notes, as I said at the top of this episode, but really looking at where you see those breakdowns, and role clarity is one of them, right? We do a lot of work around that, because if people aren't clear, how can you fairly, equitably expect them to do their best work and show up as their best selves and innovate? It's not going to happen.
Always starts from the top. And I think that's one of the challenges, especially being in HR, sometimes and this is one of the things I don't want to say I struggle with currently, but I'm seeking out, going back to intention, I want to work with smaller, company, smaller to mid-sized company business leaders who get it. That they're not just looking to okay, we need to fill a body, we need to hire someone, but what are they actually building? And it's starting with that foundation of why. Because ultimately, it's not rocket science. There is so much dialogue out there nowadays. We won't name companies and names and anything, but like we're always hearing, all this stuff that doesn't work right. And it's all about being intentional and being the exemplifying what you want your team to be. Like, what do you want for your team? What is the end goal? Start with the end in mind is a big thing that I always speak and preach about, is that intention. And if filling, if sticking a button seat, or, even going back to, return to work mandates, what's the end goal with that? So that's something that I just got into a conversation with someone about that yesterday. It's that intention. What you can go back to work, but again, what is that ultimately accomplishing? It's the why, and it's having that communication and transparency that is so critical.
Yeah, we have to start with the why. It's important. Even when you look at establishing a partnership like we have, right? If there has to be a purpose behind that. There has to be intentionality. And I know that we both care about that. I don't partner with clients, community, LinkedIn folks, all, even at friends, like we get to choose. And I don't partner with people who don't have shared values, because we are values led first at CEPHR. And everything you always hear me say, like, I walk it like I talk it. You're not going to see me doing something incongruent to my values. In fact, I've had to release a couple clients because they were no longer values aligned. And I discovered some things that I was like, oh, no, we don't do this. Of course, I try to have the conversation right first, because that's important. But when we look at the shared values that you and I have, it's why we've put in, proposals together, why we know that we have each other as thought partners. And my gosh, the number of things that we bounce around, but it's beautiful. And to have this opportunity, especially if you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or even working in a team in an organization, right? We can't do this alone. We got to have the right players at the table. And we want to work with those folks who are going to understand, we value collaboration over competition, right? So we can strengthen each other. There are things that you bring to the table that I don't. I told you, I never heard of UMAP until you. We both know Clifton strengths. I don't know it as intimately as you do, right? There are just strengths that you can bring to each other. And that is what makes a solid partnership, whether it's a client, you're, a boss to an employee. Ooh, boss to employee. That was yucky language. On a team. It's, that's how it works,
and may I add to that? I love, this is the thing, and we can talk for hours on this stuff, Tiffany. I know we have.
We do.
We do. We do quite a bit. One of the things I love about our relationship is, and this is so important for people to understand, is that our relationship did not grow overnight. And so one of the things, I mean, it's literally, it's been organic over a few years, over some fun times. I mean, obviously, and we can, if we get into it, we can talk about the fact that you were the origin for the book, like, honestly, because I saw you in the conversation a few years ago. I can't believe it's already been 3.5 years since I watched you in that. But what's really important for people to understand, especially because I get pitched quite a bit in DMs or even with emails, people going to my website, is, hey, I want to book time. I want to collaborate. I want to do this. I'm like, wait, where in the world are you? First of all, what do you do? Do you even know? That's not collaboration.
That's not my name. No.
And they don't, and they misspell the name, and I get Mr. all the time, which I'm Ms. But yeah, it's hysterical. And people need to understand that these things are organic. And that, I think that's why you mean so much to me, professionally and personally, is because I've watched your growth. I've seen your highs. I've seen, some lows, which we all go through. And we've got each other's backs. And those are the true relationships that you want to have in your corner. Not just, okay, wait, I think maybe this person might be so. It grows. I'm not saying that that's the same for everyone, but at least for me, and I'm very intentional about that. I'm very intentional with who I accept, on LinkedIn for, invite requests. Don't even get me started on that one. I'm very, I try to keep it clean and fluid. And I really want to connect with people that I feel are going to align, and that I'm going to, that are going to want really to stick around for a while. It's one thing to add the numbers or the figures, what have you, but it's, in the end, if it's not intentional, it doesn't really go anywhere. So.
Yeah. And and yesterday I know I screenshot a couple things like some LinkedIn faux pas. And I was like, check this out, because I know we both are just like, what? It's literally people are still out there pushing pods. I got an email across my desk yesterday and I was like, wait, what? Is this really happening? And that was advice that they were given. Just and then someone asking me to endorse their skills. And I'm like, I met you like yesterday, maybe. I don't even actually remember when we connected, and they had endorsed my skills. And yeah, thanks for that. But for me, it's about the meaning and the intention, and it's not the vanity and the metrics. And every single person in this group who's in this chat right now, I can speak for that. I know that they value those things too. Even there's a few of you who I don't know, but you know, G, and I could tell by the comments that you put in before we even got live today in the past few days that you value those things. So intentionality is the way. And when you think about business, whether you're in corporate or you work for yourself, there has to be intentionality, and relationships are everything. And if you think you're just going to skate by, hey, this, this is not a quid pro quo situation here. We want to be in relationships because both sides care about it, and we have to nurture them. They don't just, thanks for those, likes on my post, but these are real people I know who I talk to offline. We have to build relationships, and out of that comes partnerships like ours. I was so happy to hug you in Phoenix. It was our first time that we met at Disrupt HR.
I know. Oh my, this is the part where I wish we could like pull up the picture and all that, but like we had the best moment, and so that's just it. When you meet people, especially online, and you can meet them in person and hug them in person, and they are the same as they are online. I mean, because at that point we'd known each other for a few, and I remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I remember earlier on, like following you and kind of fangirling a little bit because, I didn't really know you, and I was still, at the time, it was before I'd gone back to work, before my most recent permanent role that, of course, is no longer permanent. But, I remember just following you a few years ago and thinking, oh my gosh, she seems to have it together. Like, who is this woman? And then that was when I ended up seeing you, obviously, on the show that ultimately, like, Dial Zero for Satan, the book, all of it. Like, it was just one of those things where you'd been so, like, I was so used to seeing you a certain way. And then when I met you in person, it was like, nothing. It was just effortless. It was like you were the exact same in person as you are online. And those are the relationships that we really should be looking for. And when you know that you can trust someone that way, I don't know. And that's why, even with all you're doing with your series here, Tiffany, and I even shared this with you, the fact that you are putting so much thought and time and energy into your guests and the show and everything that you want to do to spotlight others. You talk about a quality community member. I mean, you're community personified. You really are. And it's truly an honor to be a part of that. So, again, going back to the comments and seeing the people here, and I know we'll get back to them, and just sending the love, you have no idea how much that warms my soul today. I'm just, it's amazing. Okay.
Thank you. Likewise. Community it's a value. And I will say today is my late father's birthday, so I get to spend time with G here. So that's even better. And he was such a community person, and that is a value that I'm so proud of because it's something I get from him. And I am just so excited that you're all here spending this time and that we're celebrating and we're understanding this. So speaking of, and there are some people in these comments who I've gotten to, several of you who I've gotten to meet in person. Hug, yay! So excited. And the rest of you, I'm coming for you too. I'm excited to meet you too. Gee, can we talk about this book? Because it's actually not, the book is not funny, but the way that this came about and how our relationship evolved is actually pretty funny. And I want to give you a spotlight to talk about this book, which is related, y'all. We're not just like over here trying to give you pitches, because those are for the DM.
Well, before I get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Chase in the comments.
Yes.
I kid you not. I was on Chasen's show a few months ago. He has been one of my biggest book cheerleaders. I mean, he's a bigger cheerleader of my book than I am of my book.
Jason is everyone's favorite cheerer.
And you talk about community, Chase, and again, everyone in comments is amazing, but I'm singling Chase now just for that reason, because here I wrote a book, and it was very impromptu at the time. And I will share, I'll try to give the bulleted, highlights, if you will, just to encourage people. And this is a little bit off topic, but for those who want to write a book, it's doable. It's not going to cost you thousands of dollars to do it. And I can briefly clarify that too. But a few years ago, I happened to catch you, Tiffany, on a show where you were a guest, and the topic turned, of course, to, HR being, Satan and their experience. And I'll try to abbreviate it, but it was at the time, it wasn't you saying it, but it was you being a guest on the show where it was discussed, and you, as usual, poised. And I was watching you. This is almost 3.5 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. I want to say it was July of 2022. And I remember watching you, and you were just poised, and the same glowing light as always. And they were having this discussion about dial zero for Satan, and having this really awful experience getting into the phone queue or getting a live representative. And oh my gosh, closed for the holidays. And it stuck with me, mind you. This was 3 years ago. Okay. So time-wise. So fast forward a year later, I decided to apply for a Disrupt HR talk in Tucson at their inaugural event in December of 2023. December 2023. So your show, July of 2022, December 2023, applied for a talk, got accepted, gave a talk about HR is not Satan, humanizing the evil experience in April 2024. Well, then about a month later, it was suggested by Michelle B. Griffin. So let's give a shout to our favorite personal branding expert guru. Gee, why don't you convert that into a mini book, a quick business book that you can get to market faster? And I thought, okay, great. So I turned it out in a few months. I took the 5 bullet points in my talk, turned it into 7 chapters. And within 4 months, I published this book. And that's the one that, I don't know if you can
bring it up.
It's this, and it's a quick read. You can get it on Kindle or what have you. And I don't want to sit here and be salesy about it, but Chasen
proud of you.
Chasen has been one of the big supporters, is my point. So since then, I have, talked about the book, and it's for HR pros who, might, think differently. And maybe there are some things I can do to, work on, my own strategy with employees, but also it's for leaders, and it's for anyone curious about the HR profession, anyone who wants a quirky read, really. So, check it out. I'm happy to share more. I don't want it to be a book plug, but it's super interesting how many times we hear, and I mean, again, I just heard it last week, I hate HR, can't stand HR, HR's this and that. And yes, you're going to get the bad actors out there who are giving the rest of us that evil, that evil look. But Tiffany is not that. I am not that. I know Marnie's in the comments. Marnie's definitely not that. Chase.
Marnie's fighting off culture zombies.
Those that we know are not those people. So don't put a blanket over everyone or an umbrella over everyone just because of, one bad experience, is the point. So that's a little bit about the book, but oh my gosh, what an experience. And I'm writing book number 2, but that book number 1, though, I really want that title to grab people's attention, because HR is not evil. We're not horrible people. We're here to strategize and support. And I think that message gets lost.
Yes. I love that we're talking about that in this mini series, right? Because it's part of how we partner. There's a reason there is an HR business partner title in our profession, and it is about partnership, and that is what we want. And sometimes we just get forced by the organization. We have to remember that work is a system that we are working within. And so sometimes what happens is people, they lose choice, right? Like, I've had my head count, they gave my head count to sales, right? And it's like, oh, well, you want me to play strategy and tactical, and I'm a scrappy HR department of one, but that is the stuff that people don't always see. When we're working with less resources, less budget, and I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole of all the things that we know how we shine and how we show up. This morning, a little bit before the show, I was like jamming out on some people's posts about HR and this consultancy and partnership and whatnot. And it was just such a feel good coming into this, to look at people who are progressive with this. And there's a community that I belong to called HR Rebels as well, who, they talk about just all of us who understand that we are really at the center of it. We hold a lot of the data and we really are looking for partnerships. We understand the business, we're savvy, but if you don't set us up in the right environment, it's not going to happen, right? Partnership, collaboration, who's at the table, perspectives. Don't get me started. We're about to go to church. All right. So, on on that note, is there anything else you want to share around partnerships or thoughts that you have, or do you want to get out the the offering plate?
The
Not this.
what? The what? I'm sorry.
Sorry, we just have giggle fest. Do you want to bring, the offering plate over to bring something up? And I realize that we all have different beliefs, so I hope that I'm not offending anyone with that. I am a woman of faith, and I do bring that to work with me. So I hope that you all feel like you can show up too.
No, understood. And
Yeah.
no, I mean, again, the soapbox that I can stand on all day, it all goes back to intention. That is the biggest thing for me. And to your point, Tiffany, the biggest struggle I see is that sometimes HR is not set up for the success, and it gives that stain, and that's what we're trying to change. And
Mhm.
through these partnerships and knowing, like, I love seeing your successes. For example, you're further along in your solopreneur journey than I am. I've been consulting off and on, honestly, since probably about 2010, 2011 timeframe. But it's only been in the past few years where I've leaned into it more, and then of course established my LLC. But I see you as being further along the journey, and I love seeing your wins because I see how you are with your clients, and you bring your whole self to all you do. And the best part is when you said earlier that there are even clients that you've had to turn away and that you're just, nope, no more, because it didn't align with your values and who you are in the end. And that is so important because for me, and I know you feel the same way, is that we need to sleep at night. And
Yeah.
if it's out of alignment, it ain't gonna happen. So why waste the
Come
time?
over here.
And for those familiar with Clifton Strengths, my top two, I will tell you, the futuristic is my number two. It rages like always. I'm always like, I don't even want to bother if this ain't happening. I'm not even gonna bother. But my number one
Mhm.
responsibility is that I want to see things through and make sure that that point gets across as to the why it's not going to happen. Otherwise, I'll lose sleep too. So
Hmm.
it's really interesting, and there's so much that we have still to do within the profession. It's just getting the right, people in place. And what I love about you is that you are partnering with all the right leaders and companies and getting some of that. And so it's inspirational to see because we don't always see that.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And same. And I really do see your responsibility show up in our partnership, in our friendship. It is I because I
The
know
guilt.
you shared your strengths with me, and I was like, wow, but that is the power of knowing yourself and your strengths and your personality, because now I know how to connect it. Now I know what you value. So I make sure I don't have a misstep and that I honor that in our relationship. There's, of course, the shared aligned values, right? But we're individuals at the end of the day. We spoke about the different strengths that we have to bring toward each other. And that's important. And my top strength is strategic. And you know how I always talk about my clients hear me pepper them with that word all the time. I don't want to do it if it doesn't make sense and it's not intentional. We are going to look at what is the root of this issue that you've brought forward. We're going to do the hard work, and they all know it. It is not about blankets, and it's not about quick fixes and performative stuff, especially when we get into the DEIB space. Speaking of things that are hot topics and buzzwords or perceived as that, it is about the actual work that we do, right? And my number two is positivity, and that's why everybody always sees all this energy. So, and why I can see in even the hard stuff, right? I've been going through a lot of stuff with caregiving, some other dynamics behind the scenes, but I rest when I need to so that I show up as best as I can for my community, for my clients, for my family, my friends. But we're not always all at our best. And that's another way that partners can show up. I appreciate that you're always a safe space for me. And I believe that I am for you too. So thank you for being that as
I
well.
always say that I love us, and I truly do. I have so much respect for our relationship, and yes, these are the things that you want to treasure, and it's so important to build those. And going back to what I was saying earlier, like, some collaborations, yeah, they may pop up. And I mean, I just had a conversation recently. Actually, I had a couple of conversations. I'm still not really sure how I feel, but like for some reason, it's been organic over the years and it just flows, and you need to trust it. And that's the one thing that if nothing else, I really think that when people are thinking through these things, and again, you take a pause for the cause. I actually just wrote that in my newsletter.
You did. It's good. Go to her page and check out her newsletter today.
I updated my newsletter today. My 5th edition, I'm actually proud of myself. I finally got it out there. But one of the things, take a pause for the cause and really start with the end in mind. Think it through always. And, with us, it's a no-brainer. And I'm very, very blessed for that. And I have heard so many stories, though, where that's not the case for people. And the outcomes are just, it's like, okay, couldn't you have seen that? Like, couldn't you have, like, again, start with the end in mind.
I have unfortunately had a few of those where it's like, whoa, who are you? This is not, because I vet. We also vet our clients at CEPHR before you get on a prospect call. Oh, believe we have done I'm checking out your LinkedIn. We have I'm not going to spill all the tea on how we do that. And it's not in a like weird way. We stalk for good. We really want to know, is this a company that is representative and not just what they're saying on their website? Because we know marketing, some people got some slick marketing out there. I don't want the marketing you. I want the true, authentic you, because we are a boutique firm for a reason. We work with certain folks. We work under these values, and we're going to do hard work. We're going to have hard conversations. I tell my prospects, if something's not working for you, let's have a conversation, and I'm going to do the same. And some of my opinions, we're used to this in HR, are not going to be popular. But trust that when I'm saying something, it's because there's either a risk behind it. There's, I'm going to make recommendations, but we have to be working together under the spirit of these things. It's so, so important. I forgot, because my Perry brain, how I got on this subject, and I get very passionate about what I'm talking about. But anyway, what else, G, what else are you hoping that we can build together? Is there anything you want to share about that?
I think it's just ensuring that when we do get those opportunities, just talking them through and seeing where some of those, missing pieces might fit. Like you were saying earlier, we don't always, like, I'm stronger in some things than you are, and vice versa. And it's just ensuring going forward that we keep each other in mind for those things. So I am very optimistic. And again, I will tell you, I know you said positivity is your number 2. Positivity used to be my number 3. It's kind of dipped a bit, which I'm not shocked, but upon my retaken, again, that's a whole other topic about Clifton strengths. But positivity is there, but my other strengths, like responsibility, is like raging, which was lower before. But one of the things that I really want to believe is that there are going to be those opportunities longer term, and there's so much to look forward to. And so part of what I know that we can do together, it's these projects that, you'll bounce off of me, and then we'll say, hey, you know what, this might work, this might not work, or hey, where does this fit? And the open dialogue that we've had with each other is, you know what, hey, this might not be the right time, this might not be the right opportunity, but hey, it's there. Like the things are going to pop in the proposals that have been submitted already. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's in store for us as we both continue to evolve. And I think one area too that I look forward to doing more of and more work on, if you will, is being more in the AI space. Like, we're still learning AI and how that impacts our profession. And there's so much more to discover with that too. And so that's something else that we can do together.
Yeah. And we exchange ideas about that. We talk about pricing. We, talk about different things. We have something that we've been talking about behind the scenes about, maybe this sounds good. You value this. I value that. And it's funny you talked about your strengths, because my positivity used to be my number 1, and it slid to number 2. And right around the time that I started the business, and that makes sense, right? So it's such a powerful tool. I just love hearing people's examples of that. But I'm really excited. I know we've been talking about certain topics that are hot buttons for us, but that where we both have values and we can share. So look for a collab from us, hopefully, on that and all the other things we're working on behind the scenes. Sometimes we get ghosted when we send things out, because what business owner doesn't? Stop ghosting people, by the way, y'all. But looking at, just what I love about sitting in this entrepreneur seat and in the owner seat is that we are only limited by our mindset, by how much we will collaborate or partner with somebody. There is enough work out here for everyone, and you can bring that in for each other. And you're only limited by your creativity too. We have had some fun, creative conversations, and now we have, bi-weekly touch bases too. So connection is so important in partnerships. So, anything else you would like to leave our attendees with? And thank you all for joining us here and being so live in these comments. I'm loving it.
Oh, okay. Speaking of ghosting, and here's the thing about it,
Everyone's favorite topic.
And here's what I absolutely love about both you and I is that after this session, we're seeing the comments pouring in. And of course, there's only so much time, but I know we're going to go back. We're going to engage in the dialogue. I love communication.
Yep.
Communication is, and you'll see it too. It's in my about section. It's there. Communication is my number one value. So if you do not know how to communicate, more than likely we will not be each other's people. That's the one thing that I say. But this is important. And going back to the comments and engaging in the dialogue. So we're not going to ghost you. We're excited to see so many of you that we appreciate here today. And, I know like I said earlier, my heart, my soul, I'm feeling so full right now from this. So I think the only other thing, that I keep telling people is, be intentional, start with the end in mind in your connections, in your communications, and know that everyone's going through in fact, I even shared this briefly in my newsletter, not at all to plug the newsletter. Again, it's just on LinkedIn. You can find it on my profile, but I talked about this too, because right now there's just so much overwhelm and overload out there. And realizing that everyone is going through something, and it's just giving people grace and space for what they need, but giving that to yourself too. And that is so important. And I really hope that people can leave here feeling energized, knowing that, we're both very professional, futuristic, positive minded HR professionals, just trying to do good for what we can do, within, our scope that we can do it. So that's really what it's all about, and just staying connected. And yes, please engage in comments and share with each other in your invites why you want to connect, not just, again, look at the profiles. That's my thing. Connect with intent is my, it's hashtag connect with intent, but I've been on this soapbox since 2016. Hashtag connect with intent, and it's connect with intent and wow your recipient.
Yes, it needs to be done. I have a friend of mine. She's another entrepreneur, actually, and she's one of my mentors. And every year, in fact, she just reached out recently. I do this LinkedIn optimization and strategies for her students. And we talk about all these things that are important and how to connect, because you don't know where that will lead. In fact, I had a conversation with someone, they may or may not have been in the comments earlier, who we had a conversation, we met, and now they're willing to support someone who I know. And I didn't make that ask, right? It's only through conversation, through effective communication, through intent and purpose, and also reciprocity. Do not expect I'm not saying there has to be, again, that quid pro quo, but you don't want to just ask someone for something, or every time you're looking, in a job search or something. That is so common. And then we never hear from you again. That is not relationship building. So I
Oh
will
my
just,
gosh.
put that out there as well. So,
And may I add one more thing to that? And I know you're
yes,
going to appreciate this. Please say thank you. Please say
please
thank you.
say thank
Gratitude
you.
is so important. I can't tell you. This has been so, again, as nice and positive and all that good stuff that I can be. I can also get into my snarky mode. And there are times I get on my soapbox and I give my spiel about, okay, people, let's have manners. We're grown up. So again, it's all about communicating, gratitude, being
Mhm.
positive, and not just wanting to take, but also how can you give to someone too. And even if you can't give financially in the moment, even if you can't do all the things, whatever your limitations are, just how else can you support your people? Just always leading with that. And it's all
Mhm.
about karma. It's really, in the end, that's what it's about, is putting good karma to the universe.
Yeah, I'm
So
thinking about what do you want people to remember you by, right? You don't want them to remember that you are just a taker. And, trust me that we're eye rolling when we see these things. And I'm thinking of a few examples and I'm like,
yeah.
wow, when do you ever pour into me, right? Just like the last thing I'll say before we close out here is just this permission that you talked about. We all need to have permission. And we can't get to a state of performance if we're all burnt out. We're in a crisis with burnout, right? Leadership is tired. We're in a mental health crisis. We're in a loneliness crisis, even according to the Surgeon General. And so we need to understand that we need each other for connection, but that it's okay to pivot, like you said in your newsletter, and it's okay to pause. And we can't do our best work from a place of burnout. So just thank you for your news. Really, truly, y'all. We go read her newsletter. It's so good.
Oh,
Specifically the one today, because that is a message that it will be timeless. We all need that. So thank you, G. What is the best way that we can find you if anyone has follow-ups for
Oh
you?
my goodness. I always love this question. Okay. So I'm on LinkedIn. It is my second home, although I am getting better with my YouTube channel. But please reach out to me on LinkedIn. If we met here today for the first time, if you want to connect, please send a note and just say, hey, caught the show. Here's a takeaway. Give me something, not just I saw you. I had one of those the other day and it really ticked me off. Like someone just like it sent me a very curt message. I'm like, I don't want to, I don't know this person. They came from nowhere. And it was just like 3 words like, okay, thank you. Yeah, because I really want to engage with you. But if you can't send a note, a great way to reach me is an email. So if you go to my about section, my email's there. I'm Gehan@goldensynergytouch.com, but it is literally in like the 4th line of my about section. People still miss it. They miss all the instructions, but it's there. So connect with me there. And yeah, that's probably the best way. And yeah, I am building YouTube. I'm a work in progress. So cheer me on, cross your fingers.
We are always cheering for you, and thank you for always cheering for us. And speaking of cheering, thank you all again, whether you're watching us on Team Live or Team Replay. We just are so excited that you joined us here for another sizzling episode. I did that one just for G. We hope it's been helpful and impactful for you, and we welcome any further thoughts, questions. You know where to find us. I am very active here on LinkedIn. We have a SATAN YouTube that we're streaming live to right at this moment, as I said at the top of the hour. And we're also going to be, we have our SATAN company page. You can go to our website as well. But either of us would love to hear questions from you. We would love to support you. So follow our work there. And if that's of interest to you or as an organization or someone else you know who might benefit from the services that we can offer, please let us know. Thanks again for joining us today, G. I am so grateful for you. And thanks to our we got more pom-poms. Thank you, Sue. We all need a cheerleader. I'm very grateful for you all for joining us and for following this mini series. Have a beautiful rest of your week. It's Friday Eve, depending on where you are in the world. Take care.